Okay, we are live. Well, it's just me here, but yeah, I'm live again, and it's the middle of the night, uh, and the only reason why I'm on this early is that I couldn't sleep. So yeah, but I remembered to use my proper microphone now, so the sound should be better than last time. We are going to talk about essentially what it says in the title of this um, live stream. Um, and it's going to get a little bit personal, which is never a good idea on the internet. Um, we all know how it works. So, yeah. But anyway, going to do it anyway. Yeah. Jim's Carnivore Kitchen, checking in. Jason is here, Foxtrot 1989. Good to see you all. More people will be joining. So, yeah. Dead YouTube theory. Let's talk about that first. Can you guess what that's about? Kind of. It's self explanatory. Is that a word? Or did I just make it up? You heard about the dead internet theory. So I just came up with this idea. Why don't we call it the dead YouTube theory? We should. And I will explain what I mean by that, and why we should start calling it not only AI tube, corporate tube, and slop tube. YouTube has many nicknames now. Um, oh, it's Orochi Fox. Okay. YouTube changed your handle. Okay. Why do they do that? That's strange. Yeah. But many strange things are happening on YouTube now. I've been very critical about the direction they are taking YouTube now, and I've been talking about that here. It might not be the topic that interests people the most, but I don't care. So this has always been a channel where I just talk about whatever I want, and if people find it interesting, that's nice. If not, that's just how it is. So the dead internet theory is the theory that most of the content on YouTube or all of the most of the content on the internet or all of the content on the internet is is automated. It's not generated by humans, basically. So you're not really, some say that you're not really communicating with other people when you're on the internet. It's just these artificial agents, if you will. Now you could call them AI agents, I guess. Yeah, you don't get notifications anymore. I know nobody gets notifications. Well, maybe some, but it's not. This channel has been stagnant for a couple of years now, and I don't even bother to do anything about it because that's a losing battle. So yeah, the dead YouTube theory. So this is more, it's not a conspiracy theory, but the first comments I get on my videos, many of them are obviously bots, not real people. Now, I will say that I do not believe in the dead internet theory in the sense that every interaction on the internet is fake, and because we are communicating now, I'm pretty sure you guys are real people. So So I don't believe in that version of that theory, but I do believe that it's being more and more flooded with content that is not generated by humans, and also with responses and activity that is generated by AI or bots and things like that. And I didn't know, and when it first started, and when you see the comments in the creator studio, and you don't really see the logo or the avatar. It's very small, and someone told me that, well, those are all pictures of nice friendly ladies with scantily clad, can I say that, with their boobs out. I didn't know, so I responded to some of them, and they all were very positive and friendly, and I said, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. But when someone told me, and I had a closer look, I could clearly see that this is fake. So yeah, but now YouTube is, and I won't go on and on about the AI stuff, I promise, but I'll just explain what I mean by the dead YouTube theory. And I think that's a term that people should start using. KP Heathen, good to see you. Good to see you. So, YouTube is clearly taking YouTube. They're taking the platform to in a direction that people will not like. AI is already generally hated for a good reason, and now YouTube is saying straight out that they will be flooding the platform. They're not using those words, but they will be making it easier to use AI integrated in the platform. You only need a photo now, a picture, and you can have YouTube's own integrated AI to animate it and everything. You don't really have to do much work at all, and that's a video or a short or something like that on your channel, if that's what they want. So they're lowering the bar, and it's like very soon you don't, if you want to make an outdoors video, you don't have to go outside. You can just fake it, and people will do that. So that's the problem. And of course, anyone sensible, any grown-up person would clearly understand that this is wrong. They shouldn't do that. It might look good when they have the yearly revenue. They present the revenue and so on to the shareholders. Next year it might look good, but long term it's a horrible decision. And then you could ask, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Well, they are doing this for at least two reasons. They want to gather as much information as they can, biometric information from YouTube, from the creators, and feed it into Google's Sora. Now we have Sora 2, we have Sora 3 soon, I guess, and they're all competing to be the one dominant AI out there. And mark my words, and other people have said the same, I guess. There will be one dominating AI generator in the near future. So at the moment, they are just desperately harvesting biometric data to feed it into their AI generator. And that I believe is the motivation. They're harvesting the information on YouTube, and they don't care a fuck about YouTube, these people. So so this is why I think that it's very possible that these people running YouTube now, these kids, I'm saying kids even though they are, they're not, some of them are my age, I guess, but they're kids. They do not understand what they are doing. So my strategy, if you want to know, is to just keep doing what I'm doing here, hoping that in the future some adults will enter the boardrooms there and they will say, "What the fuck have you been doing? Get out of here. Now we will tidy up this place and we will get that stinking AI shit out of here and we will get YouTube back to being YouTube." But at the moment, I think that we can safely say that we can safely start using the term dead YouTube, the dead YouTube theory. Because you can have AI agents writing scripts. You can feed those scripts into YouTube's own or Google's Sora, and that will generate a video. And that video will get clicks and activity and all of that drives it up into the algorithm by bots. And of course, these people, if they're advanced enough, they will make their own bots and create artificial activity and traffic to their channel. So yeah, and also of course, look, a rabbit says here, they hate paying for ad revenue. Yeah, that's also a motivation. And I believe, and I've said it many times and for a long time, that if YouTube was established now, or if it had been established by Google, there wouldn't have been any ad revenue model. And they want to get rid of that. So they're just decreasing the income that they hand out to the video creators. And at the same time, they are saying, we are paying out so much money. Yeah, they are. But at the same time, more and more and more people are on YouTube. So there is much less going around to each, right? Which will be much worse it is much worse now when AI is flooding the platform. And I'm competing with AI channels every day, especially on my main channel, the Viking one. And I'm not getting the high views there. And I see that the AI Viking videos, they are getting lots of views. So yeah, so that's the dead YouTube theory for you. Yeah. Let me respond to some of the comments here. Yeah, Looker Rabbit says they already demonetize people and force ads into their videos anyways. Yeah, they do. Let's see. So, okay. I'll move on. Scott, thank you so much for the donation. That's kind of you. Yeah, okay. Now, I can't actually remember what I wrote in the title here. Is there a way I can see it? No, not really. But I'll do something that is very foolish. Yeah, mental health. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mental health. So, even though it's very popular And people think that they sound cool when they say that I'm a lone wolf, I don't need anyone. Human beings do not function like that. We are social creatures, and we do have a loneliness epidemic in the Western world and in many Asian countries as well. And men are especially at risk for, I really won't say the word because they might demonetize. I'm not making much money on these live streams anyway, but anyway, especially men are at risk of making that decision that they do not want to be around anymore. You know what I'm saying? And research shows that if you have an active social life, if you have people around you, you're less at risk. And I will say also this, especially about women who I find it extremely okay. So when women say that they like their solitude, they want to be alone, and so on, especially when young women say that, it's such a stupid thing to say. You know, they shouldn't say that because it reveals a lack of understanding of themselves and who they are. A young woman will get attention just by existing. A man, especially a young man, will not get this attention. That's like the status quo. And I mean, you don't get attention. And when you also live in a society that tells you that men are essentially just bad, toxic masculinity and all of that, I've talked about that before, but it does create a very hostile environment, and many people are lonely, and especially men suffer from mental health issues. It is, of course, extremely foolish to say that, oh, it's because they don't talk about their issues, they don't open up, they just keep it, you know, they don't connect with their feelings. No, that's not true. They keep silent, they don't talk because they did that, they tried that. And what happens is that they are told, especially by women, to the feedback they get is that it's the woman who can feel. It's the woman's role to be emotional, and the man should, well, just deal with it. It's your responsibility. That's basically the feedback that men are given when they try to open up. Or if they open up and they are honest about their feelings, it appears that those are the wrong feelings. You shouldn't have those feelings. Those are the wrong feelings. So I mean, I've not been honest about this myself. I've not been on. I'm one of those people, and I'm 53 now, and it's not been easy. I can tell you that. It's been very difficult. So everyone hurts, there's nothing special about that, but it's special. Your feelings are special to you, and your pain is special to you. um, so my experience is that I'm not supposed to suffer. Why do you suffer? Why do you right? So because on the outside it seems great, oh, what are you complaining about, you know but the reality is that now this is not going to be about me, but I'm kind of trying to open up a little bit here because people can relate to this. Now, I've lived a very extreme life in many senses. That I've never had a job in a social setting, and what that means is that I've also during school I didn't really have friends. So I've been socially outside of everything for all my life, and I work alone as a novelist and as a YouTuber, and nobody cares. Well, my kids care, but nobody cares. Honestly, that's just the. I might be wrong, but it's like nobody cares. And another thing to add to that is that when, and this is a kind of a personal thing, I guess, but when you're somewhat known, and I am known, at least in Norway, as a novelist, you don't get to be a person anymore. You're just there in a social setting as a novelist. You get what I'm saying? The same goes for YouTube. If you're a big YouTuber, I guess, but you don't get to be a person anymore. And I don't like that so much. So if we add to this that they are taking away our last means of communication, and I mean YouTube, I mean the internet, when they're killing that with AI, I think it's going to have a huge and very negative effect on people's mental health. I mean, we are communicating now. But if they continue with what they're doing now, very soon you will not know that I'm doing a live stream. You will not know when I'm uploading a video. How often do I see these comments that says, "Oh, I thought you had stopped uploading months ago," because people don't get a notification and my videos are not recommended in the feed, that fucking feed. So when they take that away, you won't even have that social interaction, the digital social interaction. I think that's going to be, first of all, it's unforgivable. And I'm just saying this: remember their names. Because I think actually what they're doing is pure evil. It's not only greed. It's not only greed. There is some evil in it as well. At some level, when you combine greed and when you combine the the need to control other people's behavior and feelings, and that's what they are doing. When you add these things, at some level, we have to call it evil. Cheers. That's not an energy drink, by the way. I don't consume caffeine anymore. Jay, yeah, the desire is for power control. So here's what I'm thinking. If you have that amount of power and money and wealth, think about the good you could do. That tells you a lot. Now, how much money do you need to have a wonderful life? Material, in a material sense. How many millions do you need? How many millions do you need to have a wonderful life for yourself and your children? Maybe you want to give something to your friends and so on. How much? A few millions? Are we talking dollars then? Or, I mean, but you don't need a billion. Nobody needs a billion. Now, I do understand that these people who say that we should just tax them so that we take almost all their money because nobody needs a billion. That's a very dangerous thing when politicians or other people are saying that. That's dangerous. That's dangerous because that's how communism starts, right? To put it in a very simple way. And we do not want that because it's a very violent and horrible thing. But the fact that they are just keeping all of that wealth, and again, I'm not even talking about the wealth that they have in their companies, because that's different, and that's what people don't understand. If your company is worth $1 billion, you don't have $1 billion. That's not how it works. But if your personal wealth is $1 billion, and you don't use the majority of that money to improve the lives of others, to help animals, children, to restore nature, and help people who can't afford medicine for their disease and things like that. If you don't do that, if you have that kind of money, you're a sociopath, honestly. So just wanted to add that little bit of a sidetrack. But I mark my words, this AI is going to destroy people's mental health. And it's going to make people feel so lonely, so fucking lonely that they want to die. Excuse my language. This is the real danger of AI, by the way. As I said, we are social animals. We are an evolved species of primates, and we need a group dynamic and interaction with other animals like us. That's who we are. And you know what happens to the lone wolf? It doesn't really live that long because it can't. Usually, it searches for another group of wolves. Yeah. Daniel says, still many believe AI is just a tool. Yeah, I know. I'm not seeing that people saying that so much anymore. A few months ago, I saw it everywhere, but now people are waking up. Now it's a little bit too late, though. So, I like YouTube. not because of the people running YouTube, but because of the video creators. And what I've seen during the last, especially during the last year, the people I've been following and I've been watching all their videos, many of them are not uploading videos anymore. And I go and check their channels because I know that YouTube will not show me when they have new videos. So I go and check their channels. And it kind of adds to my feeling of loneliness. Because in a sense, you know how it is when these YouTubers you've been following, for a long time. It feels like they're friends, and you get to follow them through their lives and so on. You know, I don't want polished videos. I don't want to see polished videos um, with AI animations and stuff like that. Yeah, speaking of animations, I have two animations on my main channel, the Viking one, and I thought, I try to say there is no AI here, and so far I have not seen comments like, "Oh, there is AI here. You're using AI with it in the animation," but no, this is. I'm sure some people have written that. I can't see all the comments, but the thing is that people are also forgetting that we can actually do things without AI. And the designer that made those animations, it's a little Viking, and he knocks on with his axe on the subscribe button. I think it's a bit funny there. Um, so, and I asked him, "Are you using AI for this?" And he said, "No, I will never use AI." So, yeah, he's just doing proper animation, which is how it should be. And what's his name? The guy, the famous director, Guillermo del. What's his name? Guillermo. He made Frankenstein, the new movie, and Hellboy, and many other fantastic movies. Del Toro, yes. He said, "I'm 61 years old." He was asked about, "Will you use AI?" "I'm 61 years old. I would rather die." And I'm absolutely going to watch that Frankenstein movie, even though I think it's a scary movie and I get scared by scary movies. um, but I saw an interview about how they made it, and it's made old style. Actually, that movie is made old style with real stuff. He wanted a real ship. Now, of course, it's not like it's not filmed in the Arctic with a real old sailing ship, but in a studio, obviously. But it's like real stuff, real things. Contrast to that, I saw just a clip from a Spider-Man movie, which is not really aimed at my demographic anyway. But I saw a clip, and it was like, I was thinking, are people watching this? And now I don't play computer games. I'm sorry, I never got into that. But it looked like I imagine what a computer game would look. So, yeah. Now, so I find that this is a difficult time for me, right? At this time of the year, because during summer this year I got into back to the Viking reenactment thing, like with the Viking festivals. And I could have been more active, I guess, but at least I went to some of them. And it's a social setting. It's a social setting. And I enjoyed that. But now it's dormant because it appears that Norwegian Vikings, they can't do Viking stuff during the cold months of the year. I would, and I do, but I'm alone when I do that. I'm actually going to film a video later today. But so I don't have that either, you know. And there is a Viking reenactment group nearby, and they meet. Is it once per week actually? And I asked if I could become a member, but the chieftain there, he calls himself the chieftain. He does not want me to become a member, which I find a little bit disappointing. And apparently, I'm not wanted. He doesn't want me there because it would threaten his authority, apparently, as a leader of that group, which is just so unprofessional and disappointing that I don't even have words for it. No, he doesn't want me to become a member there. So, you know, and then, you know, I'm not going to beg. That's just, no, I don't do that. But all of this, you know, it kind of adds to my feeling of loneliness, and I do suffer from loneliness. I have suffered from loneliness my whole life, and I'm not really that good in social settings. I'm not really that good at I'm not good in social settings, so maybe it's my fault, but it does make things difficult. I would say. Yeah. So what I find strange, and a symptom, maybe not so strange, but as a symptom of our time, the time we're living in, is that we have a society now where people, I would say most people, they say that they are lonely, and they sit in each their apartment or each their house, each their rented place or whatever, on their own, and they are there and they are lonely. Why don't people connect? I think it's because they instead of connecting in a real way, in a human way, they use that smartphone as a crutch, as a way to not feel so lonely anymore. And I'm not blaming anyone for doing that, but it makes people not go out, makes people not connect in a proper way. Yeah, Angela, yes, a screen doesn't equate face-to-face interaction. Yeah, staring at screens all day, never socializing, all only working, everything in a screen. And it's like at this point, I'm, I've got warm. At this point, I'm like looking forward to one in the future hopefully becoming a grandfather. For me, this also has a lot to do with an emptiness, the empty nest syndrome, or when your kids have grown up. Scott, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Which is also something that many people can relate to. Also, personally, I lost the social setting of the powerlifting because some of these kids took over and just blasting music there, and I making so much noise in every possible way, and I can't be there anymore. So I lost that. I train in a commercial gym or in my home gym, but at that commercial gym, nobody's connecting. They're just at their smartphone in between every set and with their headphones on. So it's just, you can just as well train on your own alone. And it's really sad that it's become like that. It shouldn't be like that. And I kind of get the sense now that you shouldn't, these women that are there, that you shouldn't talk to them, because I don't know what's happened, but I've been not in I've not been in social settings so much. So it's like one day a girl was struggling with removing a plate from one of those machines, and I was standing right next to her. No, it was not a plate. It was the machine itself, and she was kind of struggling with adjusting the machine there. And I asked, should I do it? And she was not hostile, but also you could tell that she would rather that I didn't say anything. And it's like, do these people, maybe I misread her reaction, but I did get the sense that these people, I'm 53 years old. How old was she? Maybe 20. Does she really think that I would be hitting on her? Is that what I was just trying to be helpful, because I learned that you should be helpful. So that's just one episode, I guess. But I understand better now what people have been saying to me about, because I always said, when we talked about men and women and all of that, and just talk to women. Just talk to women. I still stand by that statement. That's what you should do, But maybe maybe I haven't really realized how the reaction is when you do talk to women, like that. And as I said, I was just obviously just trying to be helpful there. And but maybe maybe men like me, my age, are actually trying to hit on, not hit, but hit on. Is that what you say? These young women, maybe they are. I don't know, but it's like you end up just not socially interacting with people, and that adds to that loneliness. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Underachiever fights there. Got those looks from them by just asking to share the gym equipment. Like, dude, this is collective space. I need a machine too. It's such a child behavior. Yes, yeah, and they sit between the sets, and they're on the smartphone between the sets. What's that about? What about intensity in your training? What about that? I come from a very different tradition. I can tell you, just as a kind of a sidetrack here, as a powerlifter, these people are not our training. The way we train is so much more intensive. You can't even compare it. It's I to use a very good expression, some of these sets, you do 1 or 2 reps, and it's so heavy that you feel like you can't do anymore, but you're going to do 5 or 6, and at the end of the set you can see God, as they say. So and I don't see other people there training like that. But of course, you have to train like that if you want to see progress. Um, you know, yeah. Kat says helping with a stuck weight peg. Yeah, it was a weight peg. Yes, it's not floating. She probably just felt stupid and frustrated. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I'm not going to ask again. So I learned my lesson. Maybe. Well, yeah, I will ask other people again, but probably not her. I can't remember how she looks now, but it was a young woman. Uh, so, and all of this adds to that loneliness. Um, and there is research that says that, and this maybe you didn't know, but light, natural light, is so important. You know, um, and you need to get outside in natural light in the morning for at least 15 minutes, because after 15 minutes, it's like a switch that is switched on. The switch is switched on, and it activates your mitochondria in your cells in a way. I'm not, obviously not qualified to explain how it works, but you need 15 minutes, and it has to do with infrared light, and it penetrates up to 8 centimeters into your body. That light, actually. And now I just now I got an idea. During COVID, didn't Trump say something that people ridiculed him for? And maybe he didn't know what he was saying, but he said we should use some light or something into the body. Didn't he say something like that? Actually, now I'm going to tell you something that you maybe didn't know. But there's been research done on this. Just again, a little bit of a sidetrack. It appears that a marker for those people who got very sick during COVID was that they did not spend time outside. And it's like research has shown that if research has shown actually that the people in hospital rooms that have the bed closest to the window are discharged. Is that what you say? They get out of hospital sooner than other people. Force light into the body and maybe use bleach internally. Oh, okay, Kat. Well, that sounds a little bit. Okay, I don't know. Well, that sounds a bit. I don't know what to say to that, but it appears that this infrared light is so important for us. So it could actually be that it was not only that it was the people with obesity that got sick, but also that they were inside. So if you have obesity, it's probably more likely that you spend a lot of time inside the house. While if you're more active, you will probably not be obese. So active in the sense that you're outside. So this is important, and it's like your diet. If you eat ultra processed food and sugar, there is sugar in this, but I try to limit it, right? But if you eat ultra processed food and a high carb diet, you will more like it's very difficult for your brain to process things, and it will add to depression and anxiety and things like that. It's so the diet is one thing, but we should just spend time outside. It's so important. So imagine if it affects it goes through clothes as well, right? So 8 centimeters into your body from every side. Imagine that. That's how thick is well, depends how thick you are. But that's most of your body, right? So yeah, actually red light therapy is effective. That's at least that's what I've heard. Audrey says, I was in my garden every day during COVID, still here, no vaccine. Yeah. So the UK that was one of the countries that typically for the UK, treated their citizens like crap, and locked people inside the house, which is the worst thing they could have done. In Norway, it was different. We still had fucking bastards who should be in prison pushing the vaccine. But at least they said you should go out and go for a walk and spend time outdoors. At least they also said that, Jeffrey says used red light therapy to heal plantar fasciitis that wouldn't go away for 8 months, healed in about a week. What Trump said and didn't say, maybe it's not so interesting now. So let's skip that discussion, shall we? It's not really what this is about. Imagine I'm trying to connect the things I talk about here. So I'm the red thread, so to speak, is loneliness. Imagine if people could meet and go for a walk. There are groups and people doing that, I guess, but um, you know, um, that's very healthy. That will be very healthy. So, I wake up in the middle of the night and I have the feeling of restlessness, and it's very difficult to explain. It's not a physical restlessness, but it's a mental restlessness. And that is probably something I have to deal with, but I think it's quite common. I think it's quite common. And another thing is that, people say you have to talk about your emotions, you have to talk about your feelings and all of that. And yes, maybe you should. But there is one thing that I think is more effective than that. And what we should do, what would be even more effective, is to come together and stay outside and do things together outside in nature. You get what I'm saying here? It's healthy for us. Just the light itself makes it healthy for us to be outside. And I plan to be outside much, much more now, moving forward. And if you could combine that with social interaction with other people, you have those two very important uh, factors. You have those two components that are known to fight mental health issues. If you have people around you and if you spend time outside, you're doing what you, I mean, it's very effective to battle anxiety, depression, and all those such things. So Mike is asking, what advice would you offer someone who's introverted and struggling to accept that they will probably always be that way? Um, well, I would say that first, I will say in a general sense, not in your case perhaps, but I don't know. But I do think that many people who are saying that they are introverted these days, they're really not introverted, but they just have grown up without sufficient social interaction and training in social settings because of social media, smartphone, and all of that. And it's become popular to say that, oh, I'm an introvert and so on. Now, I'm not saying that's the case in your case. That's not what I'm saying. I just wanted to say that. And to answer your question, I'm an introvert too, and I did struggle to accept that, so I can relate. I think it helps to find people that share your interests. So if you have a hobby, if you have something that you're passionate about, it's much easier to connect with other people. Yeah. My viewing time 07. Thank you so much for the donation. That's very kind of you. Very kind of you. Yes, people, you're saying that people are way too judgmental. I use a walking stick as a cane, and people think that I'm fragile and can't do anything. Yeah, it's people are judgmental. Yeah, and I will just say this: I think people are judgmental, but to the wrong stuff, to the wrong things, right? And there is a time and place for actually being judgmental. We shouldn't accept everything. But yeah, I am. Yeah, people are judgmental, and thank you, Angela. Um, yeah, yeah. So Daniel says not much of a nature. Sorry, not not much of a nature expert, but my mood got much better simply by walking in forests. Crayon is asking which country you're from. Are you asking me? I'm from Norway. Hmm. Yeah. I'm saying you should be outside in nature, but some people, of course, I understand from your comments, you live in big cities. Um, hmm. But you can get out of the city, right? Can you get out of the city at least one day a week? Um, yeah, I can see that that's a problem. Parks I mentioned here. Yeah, I've been in Central Park in New York, and that was nice, but people everywhere, you know. But I guess it's better than nothing. We're not supposed to live in a concrete jungle, you know. Uh, and by the way, that research on the infrared light, it said that you get even more infrared light if you're in an environment with lots of leaves and grass and all green stuff. It's almost as we were supposed to be there all the time out in nature. It's almost as if evolution has made us so that that's where we belong. you know Hello from the woods of Kentucky. Hello there. Um, yeah. Um, Again, it's sometimes it's difficult to see other people's position. And I live at the edge of the woods. I well, the woods stretches into my property, so I only have to open the gate and I'm in the woods, and I have the sea at the other side of my house. Uh, so that's nice, you know. Yeah. I want to throw something in here. My kids are very inspirational to me, and I think both my son and I think also my daughter have mentioned that uh, they want to walk at least part of the Appalachian Trail in the USA. And what I've said is that yes, you should do that, and I think you should do it either before you kind of settle down with a house and family and kids and things like that, or you kind of have to wait until your kids are grown up and you're much older, you know. So yeah, do that, you know. That's what I've said, and I want to do it too, but not now because I don't want to be away from my dogs for that long. But there are trails in Norway, of course. Um, Broken Bear Auto 809 says the Appalachian Trail is about 2 hours from my house. Um, so, you know, I think the reason I'm mentioning this, I'm trying again to connect everything to mental health and loneliness, is that what my question is, what happens if you do something like that? If what happens if you just tell yourself, okay, I have these issues. I might be somewhat depressed. I might wake up with anxious feeling in my chest in the middle of the night. And my life is far from perfect. But I'm going to just pack my stuff and start walking. What happens? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm fascinated by that transformation. People are talking about it's transformational. That's what they're saying. I get very emotional when I think about that. And I think at least one of the reasons why it's so transformational is that you pull yourself out of all the crap that is bothering you. And some people say that, well, you can't run away from your problems. That's true. But you're going to walk that off. You know, when you hurt yourself in training, then some people say, just walk it off. Well, that's what you're doing for days and days and weeks and months and months. And I don't know. I've obviously never done it, but I want to. And here's my thing. Here's what I think. I've kind of I could stop working now financially. I could stop working now. Um, so that's kind of that's in place. Um, and if I started walking, I did the Appalachian Trail, and my mental health improved. I felt better. I felt that I had a purpose. I felt like every day has a new goal. You walk, you reach a new destination. I wouldn't want to stop. That's what I think. I wouldn't want to stop. And that explains, I think, why some people just keep walking. They do the yo-yo. They walk they walk up and they walk down again. I think you can just manage to do that in one season if you are effective. And then they do the one on the other side in California, from the border of Mexico to Canada. But I can't do that one because the Trump administration decided that foreign people are not allowed to do the what's it called? The one from Mexico to Canada through California and so on. Only American citizens are allowed to do that now. So yeah, Pacific Coast Trail. Yes, yes. So apparently, us Norwegians, we are potential terrorists. We would kick a hole in the wall to Mexico, let in the immigrants, and shoot up something like, I don't know, on the way through California. And yeah, we're known for doing that as Norwegians. We are so horrible people. Yeah. So no, I can't do that. But it was the Pacific Coast Trail. But of course, what I'm saying, it's not about that. It's what happens if you do that. What happens to you? I think that you have to you have to get through some very difficult times. And I've heard people saying that if you have mental health issues, you should not do that. You shouldn't start walking the Appalachian Trail if you have mental health issues. And I say that's nonsense. That's nonsense. I think that you will have some breakdowns, you will have difficult times, but the idea is that you get up, you keep walking. So, yeah. Yeah, Angela, no, my passport is fine for all countries. And the USA as well. But Norwegians can't walk the Pacific Crest Trail. Yeah, yeah. Our Dr. Crowd says walking is like some prolonged meditation. Do it for 4 years, Bjorn. Yeah, so I think the reason why am I talking about the trail in the USA? We have trails here. Actually, the reason why I'm thinking about it, and the reason why actually many Europeans go and they do the Appalachian Trail is, and I think, well, it's the most well-known trail in the world, maybe, but and it's on my bucket list. It is, but there is something there that you will not experience in Norway. Now, of course, the good thing about hiking in Norway and the fact that you don't see anyone here is that you don't see anyone here, right? So, so that's a good thing sometimes, that's why I can do my Viking videos up here in my local woods, because there are no people there. But when you do the Appalachian Trail, you meet other people, and I'm skeptical because I've heard that you will see at the beginning of the trail. That's funny. At the beginning of the trail, they say you will encounter people who do drugs. There will be some people doing drugs there at the beginning of the trail. I wonder why not so many towards the end of the trail. But yeah, I honestly I don't like to see that, and I'm not a liberal, and I don't like to see it, and I don't want to be near people doing that. It's very accepted in the USA, I believe, but not here in Norway. We view Americans like these crazy people: guns, Jesus, and drugs. That's over there in that social experiment known as the USA. That's the attitude here, and I honestly I don't want to see it, but it's like, you know, if I can try to look another way and pitch my tent some distance from those people, then it would be okay, I guess. And why walk the Appalachian Trail? Because of the social thing. You will connect with people, I think, and in a real way, as we are supposed to if you do something like the Appalachian Trail. And that would be very nice, you know. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, so I think as you get through the first few weeks, you don't see so many of those people anymore. That's what I've heard. Yeah. Yeah, and White Island says, I think you'll meet reasonably sane people on the trail, people with purpose and love for nature and history. Yeah, that's why what I would be interested in, the nature and the history. I don't know so much about American history. So it would be nice to learn the local history of the places the little towns and stuff like that. Yeah. No, but so my son, he said he wants to do a section of the Appalachian Trail, and he's got the same attitude as me towards what I just mentioned. So it just needs to be prepared that you will see things like that there. But I think most people are decent and honest and so on. And there are things that are very different. Like there is actually theft. I've heard there is theft. People stealing stuff. Actually, that's like never happens here. I mean, I could pitch my tent in the woods and come back a week later. I actually have. No, that was my hammock. Actually, I left it there for weeks. Nobody steals it. So, no. And the bears. That's maybe in my case that would be the what I need to remind myself that I don't pet the bears. don't try to get the bears to come over to you, and yeah, famous last words, come here, little bear. they it's like, and in a hospital maybe you say, oh, it looked very small from a distance. So yeah, The Revenant. Yes, that's a wonderful. That's a great movie, and that scene is frightening. Yeah. Angela, you've been in Texas. Learned a lot about the Texas state history, United States and European history as well. It was interesting. Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah. Don't pet any bison. Bison looks a lot like we have not bison, we have the prehistoric animals up in Dovre. What are they called? Are they called bison? No. Can't remember now. Hold on, I will find out. You'll have to excuse me. Oh no. Musk ox. Sorry. And we always laugh a little bit when tourists come here and they try to attract them, and so on. No, we don't laugh because that's dangerous. Imagine a prehistoric big hairy ox with a forehead made out of 4 inches thick bone. Yeah, we have those up in the mountains here. So I know that you're not supposed to try to attract and pet those. So the same would go for bison. So New Zealand would be nice as well. Here in my local woods, we have the moose, which and they are, during mating season, the bulls get quite aggressive, and they are huge. So I saw one the other day. I was driving through the woodland here, and he was just standing there looking at me, probably considering if he would charge at my car and flip it over, I guess. So we have those. Yeah. Okay. We do not tolerate any liberal views on drugs here. So I'll put you in a timeout, and you can reconsider your ways. So yeah, Japan as well. Nice place, I guess. I've never been there. Yeah, I have been to Thailand. And I've been to the Seychelles. I've been to India. Yeah. Hi from Croatia. Hello there. So yeah, basically, I think I might be wrong, but I think it would be a nice thing to do. Again, you need to find a purpose, and I think that if you have a purpose, it can get you through some hard times. If you don't have a purpose, then you start asking yourself, what's the point? And I honestly think that a very important reason why so many people are struggling with their mental health is that they don't have a purpose, or they feel that they don't have a purpose. They start out trying, they try their best, and they're just left with this feeling, a correct feeling, that first of all the system is rigged. You probably will not reach your professional goals. That's not true, by the way, but that's the feeling that people seem to have these days. And now with AI, and AI is a bubble, by the way. It's going to crash, and it's going to burst, and it's going to be huge effect on everything. I predict that AI will be more hated than any other recent change or invention, or in the recent 50 years, at least. It's going to be so hated. And we can already, we know that there will be by the way, we know that there will be an AI what do you call it? I say crack, but crack is something different. We say børskrakk, that's in Norwegian. And AI, when the AI bubble bursts, it's going to leave a lot of people out of work, not because they work in AI, but because of the ripple effects. And it's coming. Yeah, it will be a collapse. And that's when they will introduce the digital ID. Well, maybe in some countries they are doing it much before that, in the UK, and it's coming very soon. I think they are saying it will take a few years, but that's not true because in England, in the UK, if you're a director of a company, you have to use AI from next month. No, you have to use digital ID. Sorry, next month I believe it was. Um, so they, when the collapse comes, they will just use that to implement digital ID. And the Trump administration, they are on to that already. They are preparing that now. And a basic general UBI, universal basic income, which will be a bare minimum. And it will not be money, it will be a CBDC, central bank digital currency, which is programmable money. We all know this now, hopefully. So they can control what you use money on, when you use it, where you are, your movements. When you go to the toilet, they will know. Okay. Um, Stu says in UK there are restrictions on buying food already. Hmm. That's is that like you can't buy too much beef and stuff like that? Is that what it's about? I pity the person assigned to listen to me go to the toilet. Yeah, but they will actually know because of your smartphone. If you bring the smartphone there, uh, it registers when you sit down, right? Very random foods. So food shortages is everywhere in the UK. Okay, I see. Carbon credit allowance not yet, but coming soon. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So um, yeah, no, I see what you're writing here. The digital ID and yeah, it's probably a topic for another live stream. Jeffrey says in the US they are taking a sneaky route already, using a variation called stablecoin instead of CBDC. I think these things will be implemented in big countries first. And by big, I mean countries where there are lots of people. Because if you think about it, this is not happening at random. This is being planned. And I think it doesn't matter if you're politically on the left or right or Republican, Democrat. That doesn't matter. These people are all bought by big tech, big pharma, and yeah, this is, as I said, a big topic, and but I think it's going to happen in the UK first. I think then the EU will follow, minus some countries where there will be some resistance, like some of the smaller countries, maybe Romania, maybe. I might be wrong there. Maybe they just implemented in all of EU, the USA at the same time. And then European countries that are not part of the EU will probably follow after that. So Norway will follow. I don't see any way. I don't see that this will not happen. I think this will absolutely happen. Helakuism there, Hungary, will for sure say no. I'm not so sure about Hungary, because I thought about Hungary when I said it, but then I thought, no, they want control, because Hungary is actually, they are using now lots of facial biometric scans and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah. So that in itself, by the way, is going to alienate people from each other. Imagine, and I'm going to end this live stream soon now, but imagine if everyone was as unfortunate as I am when it comes to social interactions. By that I mean not having a place to go to that you meet other people, like your work. And most people, they don't think about it, but they get social interaction with other people at their workplace. Even if they are not your friends, you do get social interaction with other people. And when AI takes the jobs, if that happens, you take that away from people. And I think it's very naive to imagine that, we would just spend our time occupied with our hobbies. I think we'll see a rise in suicides, like, now I said the word. Maybe they don't pick it up. We'll see. We'll see a rise in that. When people lose their jobs. So yeah. Isn't Hungary under dictatorship? I'm not sure if it's classified as that. I think at the moment you think it's a dictatorship if you do not agree with Viktor Orban, isn't that his name, and his people. And if you do agree with them, well, if you don't agree with them, you think it's a dictatorship. If you do agree with them, you think it's fine. It's like a monarchy, right? You support the monarchy as long as the king is a cool guy. Situation in Norway now, we have a bunch of criminals, actually, the royal family. That's the truth. But the old king is still a cool guy, and he's liked. It's going to change very soon. He can't live forever. The son will take his place, and the support for monarchy will plummet, which is about time. But anyway, Yeah. So yeah, migration is another thing, into Europe. Uh, so let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that actually also adds to the loneliness epidemic, especially in the cities, because people are worried, they are afraid, and because of that, they go inside the house and they stay in the house. They don't want to be outside. That's the cities. And let's be honest here. Certain ethnic groups are overrepresented when it comes to violence and sexual violence, right? But they don't say that in the news. So certain people, especially if you're politically on the left, which women tends to be actually, they believe that it's all men. Men are just bad. Look at these statistics. So many cases of violence and sexual violence, and they get suspicious and protective about themselves. To all men. But let's be honest here. There is a difference statistically between the likelihood of let's say, a Scottish man and a Somalian man when it comes to the likelihood for that man to do sexual violence, right? Let's put it that way. There is a statistic, huge difference. And I'm not making that up. Anyone can find those numbers. So, you know, when you pour people like that into a country, you are destroying that country in many, many different ways. And one of those ways is that you destroy the trust in the society, and you make people lonely because they become protective and they isolate themselves. They don't want to go out. Um, Norway was for a long time not part of that huge immigration. It still isn't. We don't have that huge immigration into. We don't have that huge amount of immigrants coming into Norway. We had lots of Ukrainians, but culturally, that's very different. I think we can all understand that. Now, it's different. During this year, things have changed, and it has changed because these problems in Sweden have leaked into Norway. Now we have criminal gangs blowing stuff up, killing people. It's about drugs. These are drug cartels, drug gangs, immigrant boys. Some of them as young as 12 or 13 years old, being recruited into this, into that, and that's it happened this year actually. So now we have suddenly a very different society in Norway. Didn't take long. Well, it did take long, but when it first happened, it happened very quickly. And I think now it's too late already. They are here. They are blowing stuff up. One of those idiots left a hand grenades in the middle of the street, even in Oslo. So, yeah. and they use social media to recruit these kids to kill people. I mean, I'm not making this up. It's they're sitting there listening to the gangster rap, thinking that the only reason why they don't succeed in society is racism, and that's why they need to do what their brothers are saying. Brothers meaning the cynical gangsters recruiting them into crime. So, yeah, that's the state of things here now, actually. No, they get the weapons and hand grenades, I believe, in Sweden. And they just drive across the border, you know. Now, in Sweden, they don't know where. Um, they, they don't have a. There are so many illegal weapons and stuff like that in Sweden, and there are many illegal weapons in Norway as well. So, yeah. Yeah, and these kids, 12, 13 years old, being recruited to blow up houses and stuff like that. It's crazy, but that's actually the case, and they do that because of the criminal system. The law in Norway that says, and it's not prepared. The law in Norway is not prepared for this, because it says that if you're below, I can't remember the age now, below a certain age, you will not be put in prison. So if you're 12 years old, 13 years old, you will not be put in prison. At least that was the case. So now they don't know what to do with these people. So, yeah. And I think not everyone who are realistic, they understand what needs to be done about this. Because do I support putting a 13-year-old boy in prison? No, I don't. But we don't have any choice. We need to have them removed from the streets when they do things like that. And that's the only way to make this stop. Because if they are put in prison, these gangsters will stop recruiting them. They recruit them because they are not put in prison. That's the only way to deal with it. And it's horrible. I don't think a child should be put in prison, as I said, but what can it do? Hopefully there are prisons that are different from the other ones where the adults are, I guess. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a poor assimilation problem, but it's also a cultural issue. These people, I read an article written by a Swedish policeman, and he has immigrant background himself, and he said that we must not underestimate the culture, and the culture with gangster rap, the culture with drugs, and Americans would call it, recreational drugs. Doesn't harm you. Well, it fucking does. And we must not underestimate this. It's not actually it's not about wealth. Some people are saying, oh, they are poor. They come from poor families. No, they don't. No, they don't. They get into a certain culture, a certain social setting. So, because let's face it, people in Sweden are not poor. People in Norway are not poor. But they are being told that they will not succeed in society because they're immigrants or come from an immigrant family, which is nonsense. Racism in Norway, I don't think so. There is racism in, well, there are some people who are racists, I guess, but it's been years since I encountered someone saying something racist. So but they feed them these lies to recruit them. Oh, come to us, you will be rich, you will have nice cars and drugs that you can give to all your girlfriends and things like that. That's the issue. So it makes me actually very, very upset. And I now consider Oslo to be a city that is not safe anymore. Might be wrong, but who knows when they blow up the next hand grenade there? Who knows? So yeah. And what also happens is that, again, I will just say this just to finish off this live stream here, that they have guns. So what you do then, I always thought, okay, if I need to, I can knock someone, I can knock people down to the ground or crush them a little bit, if I have to. And you can even if they pull a knife, you can even well, don't take this as advice, but you can give them a good, no, I won't say it, but if they pull out a gun, then what do you do? Any coward can fire a gun, and usually it's the cowards that do it. In a criminal setting, of course, that's what I'm saying. That changes the whole dynamic, the whole society. Then what do you do? And I think that a lot of people in Norway are going to wake up to the reality that if they had a gun as well, they would feel a lot safer. And this is like, you can't say that in Norway, or you can't say it. Look at America, they are shooting up all the schools and all of that. Yeah. But would you rather encounter one of these little bastards with a gun or without a gun? I know what I would choose. And I don't like guns, but I know what I would choose if I could choose. And I think that's the honest. People might not say it, but that's, if they were honest, people would prefer to be armed. We're not there yet, but we will get there. Who are the royal family of Norway? You don't want to know. There's a big there's a book that was just released now about the son of the princess who will soon become the queen of Norway, and the son he's involved in selling and buying drugs, cocaine, I think, maybe other things as well, but so and apparently the police have kind of protected him. That's what it looks like right now. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I know, Carola, knives are dangerous. Of course they are. Of course. Yeah, of course. So, um, but it brutalizes a society. When the threat is out there and everyone knows, it brutalizes a society. So I'm not going to carry a gun. It's not legal even in Norway. But if I know that if I encountered a situation where I felt threatened, I would not hesitate, because you can't. You have to be throwing the first punch, and it needs to be a punch that puts that people on the ground, to the ground, properly, flat out. And it's easy to talk tough, but listen, it's like, if you have been doing some um, proper martial arts, and you know how to do that. um, and it's like, how did we get here? I don't like this violence that seeped into our society. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So, yeah. Okay. I will end right there, and hopefully, yeah, we talked about many different things today. Um, yeah. Yeah. And thank you for keeping YouTube alive. Thank you for keeping YouTube human. It's we need to fight the good fight. Okay. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.